Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to factor this. And so this is what we've been doing Monday and Tuesday. So I'm going to have you identify the A, B, and C. A is the one you circle, B is the one you squiggly, C is the one that you underline. Circle. This has not an X, underline, squiggly. So what'd you get for the A, Manuel?
1.
Perfect. The B, Jacob? Perfect. It's negative. And then C, Nazil? Perfect. Alright, and so we're going to do our X method. And so the top number is, what do we put in the top number, Jamari? 1 times 4, which is perfect, 4. And the bottom number, Dornica? Perfect. Alright, so then from there we make a list of factors for what, Elvis? The 4 or the 16? Yeah, the 4. So my list of factors for 4 is 1 times 4, positive 2 times positive 2. Now notice your B is negative, so we need to add these numbers to give you negative 16. So let's try the negatives. Now if I add these numbers, a 1 plus a 4 is 5, a 2 plus a 2 is 4, a negative 1 plus a negative 4 is a negative 5, a negative 2 plus a negative 2 is a negative 4. So do any of those give me 16, negative 16? No. So I cannot factor this. Just how it is, I cannot factor it. I can't. So because I cannot factor this, one of the things that you can do, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is we're going to do the quadratic formula. Oops. I cannot factor, so I'm going to use the quadratic formula. The reason we're moving on to the quadratic formula is because the quadratic formula lets us find the zeros of anything, where factoring does not. Now, the quadratic formula doesn't look very appealing, and it looks like it's really fun and challenging, but it's not.
What happened to your English there?
My what?
You said I am going the quadratic formula.
Thanks. Thanks, I only missed 2 words with the sentence. Oh man. So this is the quadratic formula. You do not have to memorize it because it's going to be on your formula chart. But a lot of people do. The more math classes they take, you eventually start memorizing it just because it's helpful and you know how you need it a lot. So I encourage you to memorize it. You don't have to memorize it though. Alright, so we're going to use the problem that we're doing that we were not able to factor to do our example with the quadratic formula. Now, a couple things I want to make sure you understand of this formula. First, the negative b part. So, that's a little bit sometimes confusing to people. This part is sometimes very confusing to people. The plus minus. That means you're going to do it. There's 2 parts to this equation. Why? When you take the square root of something, it has 2 answers. It has a positive answer and a negative answer. So if you take the square root of 9, the answer is positive 9 and negative 3. Why? Because 3 times 3 is 9 and negative 3 times negative 3 is also 9. So it has 2 answers. So this, when you take the square root of something and it's positive, it has 2 answers. It has a positive answer, a plus, and then a minus. That's why you have to do 2 parts to this. That's why you also have 2 zeros. That makes sense because we've had 2 zeros before. So please write this out. You're going to do negative b plus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. That's an a, by the way, not a 9. and the other one is negative b minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. Alright, so a couple things you need to make sure you understand. When it says negative b, that doesn't mean every time your b is negative. That means you change the sign of b. You change the sign. So if it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. Same thing here. It changes sign. Now, make sure you have parentheses for b, and then the squared is outside of those parentheses. And I'm going to show you what you got to do with this. Now, a lot of curriculum, school districts, other states have you do this all in your head without a calculator, but we're going to actually put this in the calculator. And you don't have to do this in your head, which makes it really not too bad. Say again? Yeah, you can totally do it that way, and I'll show you in just a minute. That was a negative 16. The C is 4. Alright, so my A is 1, my B is negative 16, and my C is 4. Okay? I'm going to do it in those 3 different colors so you can see where it goes in the formula. So first you start by changing the sign of B. So it's negative, so you change it, and so it becomes positive. Exactly. Positive 16 plus, we're going to do the plus 1 first. And then we're going to take the square root of 16 of the B squared. My B is negative 16. Negative 16 squared minus 4 times the A. What's the A in this problem? Okay. 1. Times the C. What's the C, Jamarine? 4. I knew it was Kendrick when you didn't open the door immediately. Over 2 times, I didn't mean to put A. I meant to put 2 times the A in this problem is 1. So notice where the A's go, notice where the B's go, and the C's go. So you could do this in your head, and you would start with negative 16 squared, subtract 4 times 4 times 1, which is 16. You could do all of that in your head. I'm going to show you how to do it in the calculator. You're just going to type this bad boy in. Ready? Now, what you're going to do is get checks for this. And so this is the first purple check. So you need to make sure you have this in your calculator so you can get your first purple check. Alright. New document. You're going to go to calculator. Alright, go to calculator. Now the first thing you want to type in is, because you're dividing it, you want to do the fraction symbol first. So press Control, divide, and then you're going to have the fraction symbol. So we're going to type in 16, because we changed the sign of negative 16 to positive 16, plus, you can't do plus and minus at the same time, you do plus, and then the square root, control square. The control square is next to the 4. And then parentheses, 16. Get out of the parentheses, then put the squared.
Isn't it negative 16?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, good job, Nazil, and everybody else. Negative 16. And then minus parentheses 4 times the A, which is 1, times the C, which is 4. All over 2, this is times, this is not dot, like as in a decimal. Alright, and then that's what you're going to get as your 0. Notice it's a decimal, which makes sense. Why? Because when we did factors are whole numbers, and this would make sense since we couldn't find a whole number. So, now you're going to do the minus of it, because remember, it's when you take the square root, it has 2 answers. So you go up, you press the arrow button, go up, This is a way so it saves you time. Once it highlights this one, you press enter. And then you're going to change this plus to minus. Minus is the black button, not the white button. Alright, and I'm going to walk around and check your calculators. If you have the plus, and I'm going to put a check plus on your calculator, on your paper. If you have this one, I'm going to put a check minus. That way I see that you have both.
It says I got it wrong.
Now, that might be, I don't know why. Maybe you didn't put parentheses. I'll check your calculator.